Have you ever heard of a man who vanished into thin air after hijacking a plane and parachuting into the unknown with $200,000 ransom? Today, we delve into one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, a tale that has intrigued and baffled investigators for over 5 decades. Let us journey back to November 1971, when an unassuming man known only as D.B. Cooper boarded a Northwest Orient Airlines flight, leaving behind a trail of questions that remain unanswered to this day. This man, who seemed to defy the laws of possibility, hijacked the plane, demanded a ransom, and then disappeared without a trace after parachuting into the wilderness. Over the course of this video, we will explore the enigma surrounding the hijacking, the ransom money, and the subsequent vanishing act that has left experts scratching their heads. This is the unsolved mystery of D.B. Cooper. On the eve of Thanksgiving in 1971, a man boarded a plane in Portland, Oregon. This man was no ordinary passenger. He was about to etch his name in the annals of aviation crime, forever to be known as D.B. Cooper. Under the pseudonym Dan Cooper, he purchased a one-way ticket on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, bound for Seattle. He was described as a man in his mid-40s, donned in a business suit with a black raincoat, carrying a briefcase. He was calm, courteous, and blended in with the crowd effortlessly. Nothing about him raised the slightest suspicion. As the plane took off, Cooper passed a note to Florence Schaffner, the flight attendant. It was not an uncommon occurrence. Flight attendants often received notes from flirtatious passengers. So, she tucked it away unopened. But Cooper leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The world froze for a moment. Schaffner opened the note, and the words confirmed Cooper's chilling whisper. He opened his briefcase just enough for Schaffner to catch a glimpse of red cylinders, wires, and what looked like a battery. The threat was real. Cooper was in control. His demands were simple: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. The flight crew relayed his demands to the authorities on the ground. There was no room for negotiation. Cooper had the upper hand, and he knew it. The lives of 42 passengers and crew members hung in the balance. The plane landed in Seattle, the ransom was paid, the parachutes delivered, and the plane refueled. Cooper allowed the passengers to disembark, keeping some crew members as insurance for his escape plan. And so began one of the most audacious hijackings in history. The stage was set for the next chapter of this high-flying drama, etching an indelible mystery that continues to intrigue and perplex to this day. D.B. Cooper demanded $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes. This was a well-calculated move. Cooper knew that having 4 parachutes would force authorities to believe he intended to take hostages with him, thus ensuring that he wouldn't be given faulty equipment. The aircraft, a Boeing 727, landed in Seattle, Washington, where the ransom and parachutes were collected. Cooper remained on the plane with the flight crew, while all other passengers were released unharmed. The city was likely chosen due to its proximity to the Canadian border, providing him with an easy escape route. Once the exchange was made, Cooper gave specific instructions to the pilot. He wanted the plane to head to Mexico City, flying at a low altitude of 10,000 feet and at a slow speed. These conditions were not arbitrary. Flying at a low altitude would make the cabin pressure tolerable, while the slow speed would make a parachute jump safer. As the 727 took off again, it was just Cooper, the pilot, the co-pilot, a flight engineer, and a flight attendant on board. Authorities were left in a conundrum. They needed to apprehend Cooper, but the safety of the flight crew was paramount. The plane flew on, heading towards Mexico City, but Cooper had no intention of making it to the final destination. He ordered the rear door to be opened and tethered one of the parachutes to the bag of money. Then, with the cold wind whipping around him, he did something that would earn him a place in the annals of unsolved mysteries. Then, Somewhere between Seattle and Reno, D.B. Cooper did the unthinkable. With a leap of faith, he jumped into the dark night, leaving behind a baffled crew, a plane in mid-flight, and a mystery that continues to intrigue us to this day. Where did Cooper go? How did he pull off such a daring escape? These are questions we continue to grapple with in our quest for answers. D.B. Cooper, with the ransom and a parachute, jumped into the pitch-black, rain-soaked night. Imagine, if you will, the audacity of this moment. A man, known to us only as D.B. Cooper, leaping from a Boeing 727 into the stormy abyss, the chill of the November night air whipping past, the roar of the plane's engines fading into the distance. In his possession, $200,000 in ransom money and the parachute that was his only lifeline. Yet, after this daring leap, D.B. Cooper was never seen or heard from again. The search for Cooper began almost immediately. The FBI and local law enforcement agencies mobilized in the hope of catching this audacious hijacker. Despite the harsh weather conditions, they scoured the suspected landing area, a dense forest in the Pacific Northwest. They faced a daunting task, searching an expansive wilderness with little more than a rough estimate of where Cooper might have landed. Yet, despite their best efforts, they found no sign of the man or his parachute. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the trail went cold. The FBI followed up on thousands of leads, interviewing potential witnesses and suspects, but to no avail. Cooper's identity remained a mystery, his whereabouts unknown. The ransom money too seemed to have disappeared. Despite serial numbers being recorded, none of the bills circulated back into the system. Over the years, the case of D.B. Cooper has become one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement and amateur sleuths, no definitive evidence of Cooper's fate has ever been found. Some speculate he perished that night, unable to survive the jump or the harsh wilderness. Others believe he successfully evaded capture, living out his days in obscurity with his ill-gotten gains. Regardless of the theories, one fact remains clear: D.B. Cooper had vanished without a trace. For over 5 decades, the FBI has investigated the D.B. Cooper case, but it remains unsolved. This unsolved mystery, a half-century old, keeps investigators on their toes and theorists in deep contemplation. In the ongoing pursuit of truth, the efforts of law enforcement agencies, independent investigators, and amateur sleuths have been relentless. They've pored over scant evidence, dissected every detail of the hijacking, and followed leads that have often led to dead ends. One popular theory suggests that Cooper was a seasoned skydiver, given the audacity and skill required to parachute into the pitch-black night during a rainstorm. Others argue that he was an ex-military man, possibly with experience in the Air Force, as he seemed to possess extensive knowledge about planes and parachutes. Then there's the theory that Cooper didn't survive the jump. The conditions on that fateful night were far from ideal for a successful parachute landing. Some investigators believe that Cooper might have succumbed to the harsh elements, his body never to be found. The identity of D.B. Cooper has also been a subject of intense speculation. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed, including a disgruntled ex-employee of the airline, a Vietnam War veteran, even a transgender mechanic. However, none of these suspects have been conclusively linked to the case. Recently, a new theory has arisen, suggesting that D.B. Cooper may have been a Canadian citizen due to the specific choice of ransom money. The theory that Cooper requested his ransom in negotiable American currency has led some to believe that he may have been a foreigner unfamiliar with the specifics of US currency. Despite the many theories and countless hours of investigation, the truth about D.B. Cooper remains elusive. The case is still open, the investigation ongoing, and the mystery unresolved. To this day, the mystery continues to captivate and baffle investigators. As long as the D.B. Cooper case remains unsolved, the theories will continue to swirl, the search for truth will persist, and the legend of D.B. Cooper will live on. So who was D.B. Cooper, and what became of him? This question has baffled investigators and history enthusiasts alike for decades. Let's revisit our journey, the audacious hijacking of a Boeing 727 in the autumn of 1971, the ransom demand for $200,000, and the daring parachute escape into the night. All of these elements weave the enigma that is D.B. Cooper. His disappearance, as sudden as his entry into the world of crime, left behind a trail of unanswered questions and countless theories. Was he an experienced skydiver or a desperate man out of his depth? Did he survive the dangerous parachute jump, or did he meet his end in the dense Pacific Northwest wilderness? Despite extensive investigations, the true identity of D.B. Cooper remains unknown, his fate an unsolved riddle. The mystery of D.B. Cooper is one that may never be solved, but it continues to intrigue us, reminding us of the audacity of this unsolved crime.